Hi, this is Guy. I've been doing pest control for many years now, and I've been licensed in several states. Well, I'm not licensed anymore because I'm retired now, but given that many people need to save money these days, I decided that I would share ways that I learned over the years on how you can do your own pest control effectively, safely, and most importantly, inexpensively. My goal is to save people money. So, if you find this video helpful, please share it with someone you know who may also need to save a buck on pest control. Also, if you would like to see more of my videos, then please click the subscribe button and don't forget to click on that little bell next to it so you get notified when I have another video published. Now today, we're going to talk about completely eliminating your German cockroach infestation. And when I say completely eliminate, that is exactly what I mean. In this video, I'm going to show you how to send every one of those disgusting things packing. And when you are finished, they will never come back again. Before I get into it though, I want to start by apologizing for the length of this video. I have given a lot of thought on how to keep this just as brief as possible, because I know a lot of folks like their videos short and to the point. The problem is that I have no choice but to share a lot of information. And that's because I am not planning on showing you how to control German cockroaches. I'm talking about eliminating them entirely. Now, I have watched all sorts of videos on YouTube, and although some of them will claim to get rid of all your German cockroaches, the truth is that they are only showing you how to control them. The main reason for that is because it's been long thought in the industry that it is impossible to completely eliminate a German cockroach infestation. I'm going to explain to you why this is in just a little while. But I want to make it clear that it is very possible to get rid of all your German cockroaches and make it so that they never return. And I am going to show you exactly how to do it. So, if you have watched videos on how to eliminate German cockroaches before, and you tried those methods with, let's just say, limited success, or you hired a professional pest control company, and they had to continually come back to keep the roaches away, then you have come to the right place. Since I am retired now, I do not have access to industrial kinds of buildings. So today I'm going to show you how to treat your home. But this method will work on any building, including homes, restaurants, hospitals, hotels, apartment buildings, condos, and so forth. So if you are a pro and you would like to offer a total elimination service to your customers that have German cockroaches with no follow-up treatments required, then this video is for you, as well as for the do-it-yourselfers. Now, let me say that I am not here to put down the professionals. Far from it. I am here to assist professionals. Here's the thing though. You see, folks, just about all professional pest controllers understand that the gold standard for German cockroach infestations is to try and knock down the population to the point where the customer doesn't see them anymore. But they understand that they must keep returning to the customer's home or place of business to maintain control. And that's because they were not able to eliminate the infestation 100%. Now, that's not a criticism. It's just the way it's always been done. Now, I am sure that there are some pest controllers that have already figured out how to do this, but not many. If you are one of those pest controllers who have actually pulled it off, then congratulations. You can stop watching this video. Otherwise, please keep watching. You see, let's face it. It doesn't matter what type of pest you're talking about. In order for them to even exist, then there must be some of them still around, or they could not reproduce. This is basic biology 101. Pests do not miraculously appear from nowhere. They must come from somewhere. And if you get rid of all of them, then they simply can no longer exist. It's kind of like saving the whales. If the whales go extinct and there aren't any more of them, that's it. They are gone forever. It's no different with roaches in your home or business. Once they are all gone, that's it. You will not have any more of them. Does that make any sense? You don't need to be a brain surgeon to figure that out, right? It's just common sense. Of course, you could always introduce new roaches into the environment, but most of the treatments that I am going to show you today are permanent. So in the unlikely event that new roaches are introduced into the environment, eliminating them will be very easy. The truth is, though, that I have never seen a reinfestation after this treatment has been performed properly. Okay, so why are German cockroaches considered so impossible to get rid of? Well, the problem with German cockroaches is that they breed at an insanely fast pace. So even if you manage to kill every single living roach in the building, even if there is just one egg sac left behind, then you will have another infestation very quickly. If it was only that way with the whales, wouldn't that be great? Anyway, I'm not trying to scare you, but you need to know the truth. The ugly fact is that female German cockroaches lay egg sacs that contain 30 to 50 eggs in just one egg sac. And one egg sac can multiply into literally thousands of roaches in a single year. Yeah, you heard me right. Thousands. And if you are seeing German cockroaches during the day, then trust me, you don't have just one egg sac. You have thousands of egg sacs, each capable of producing thousands more new roaches each year. Do you understand what I'm saying? Let that sink in for a minute. Let's be really conservative here. Suppose one egg sac just produces 100,000 more roaches in a year. If you have 10 egg sacs, then that's 1 million new roaches in a year. That's just 10 egg sacs. What's that, you say? You think I'm exaggerating? Okay. Let's run the math then. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time getting into the life cycle of the German cockroach. But basically, you are looking about 100 days from a female basically getting pregnant to producing more females ready to get pregnant. So, to keep it simple, let's just say that you get new roaches about every 3.5 times a year. Conservatively, if each egg sac yields just 30 new roaches and just 15 of them are females, then those 15 females will conservatively turn into 225 new female roaches in the first 100 days. That's 15 times 15 equals 225. Even I can do that basic math. Then, 100 days later, those 225 female roaches will become about 3,375 female roaches. Continuing the math, those 3,375 females will become about 50,000 female roaches 100 days after that. So in just 300 days, you will have 50,000 female roaches. And keep in mind, you will also have another 50,000 male roaches. In other words, that's 100,000 roaches in less than a year. Now, 100 days after that, are you ready for this? You will have about 750,000 females and another 750,000 males for a grand total of about 1.5 million roaches in just over a year. So if you want something to keep you up at night, now, of course, there will be somewhat fewer than this because there will also be some roaches dying off due to things like old age and other causes. So let's say that 1/3 died during this time. That still leaves you with 1 million roaches in just over a year. So how many do you think you're going to have a year after that? Listen to me. If you are already seeing these things, then again, you don't have just one egg sac laying around. You have thousands of egg sacs just laying around. And they're like little time bombs that are ready to go off. And they will go off very soon. And let me tell you, newborn roaches become adults quickly. And the females waste no time producing more egg sacs. What's worse is that the egg sacs are not affected by pesticides. That's right. You can literally spray the egg sacs with pesticide, and they will still hatch and may be perfectly fine. And guess what? There is no way that you are ever going to get pesticide on most of the egg sacs anyway, because they are well hidden and well protected. Now, I know that my pros out there are saying, wait a minute. We use insect growth regulators, so the nymphs will never be able to reproduce, and that will end the infestation. Well, if that were true, then why do you need to continually return to the account for follow-up treatments? The truth is that IGRs are an important tool in treating cockroaches, but they are not a panacea for getting rid of them completely. It takes more than IGRs and baits to get the job done. Look, I'm not trying to freak you out here, but you need to know exactly what you are dealing with. So let me be clear. If you are seeing German cockroaches during the day, like when you go in the kitchen in the morning and turn on the light, and then you see some scamper away, then you don't have thousands of roaches. You may have millions of roaches already. Make no mistake, it's really that bad. Now, if you are watching this video, then you clearly have access to the internet. So if you don't believe me, look it up. Do your homework. You will soon find that I am not exaggerating. It's common sense, folks. If you are the customer of a pest control company that is selling you a service where they need to keep returning on a permanent basis, then they did not eliminate the problem, because if they did eliminate the problem, then they would never need to return. I'm sorry, pros. I do not mean to make you angry with me. But you know that's the truth. The thing is that it doesn't need to be that way, though. Now, there is a way to eliminate the problem entirely, so that you never need to return to the account. Now, while it may seem in your best interest, or at least your best financial interest, to eliminate the need for return visits and eliminate a steady income from all your German roach customers, at the same time, you know in your heart that it would be the right thing to do. And since most pest controllers are really very honest, at least in my opinion they are, I'm guessing that most of you will end up adopting this strategy at some point in the future. Now let's face it, it's also common sense that even if you get rid of all the roaches and all the egg sacs, you can still get reinfested if you bring new roaches into the environment. And generally that is true. But like I explained previously, this is not necessarily the case with this system. If you do it correctly, then not only will you kill 100% of the existing roaches, along with the ones that hatch from those egg sacs we talked about, but you are also very unlikely to ever get reinfested. And if you do, then you do not need to do a full-blown treatment to get rid of them, because the pesticides that we will be using literally last forever. I'm mentioning this again because I want to point out just how easy it is to get reinfested. German roaches will climb on you. They'll do that when you go into a restaurant or even somebody's home. They can climb in your luggage at a hotel, and I mean even a good hotel. You can even bring them home with you from a hospital. And how about all those boxes you get in the mail? German cockroaches love boxes. And all it takes is one box to contain German cockroaches. And that can infest the delivery truck or van, and in turn infest the boxes that are being delivered. Worst of all, if your neighbor has them, they have also been known to just walk over to your house at night, because they're nocturnal, and infest your home as well. That would be the cockroaches, not the neighbors. Hopefully not the neighbors. And needless to say, if you live in an apartment building or condo, then your neighbors can certainly share this problem with you, because roaches move from one apartment to another very easily, both laterally and vertically. So if the people next to you have them, or the people upstairs or downstairs have them, then you will most likely end up having them as well. That's why you need to do a permanent treatment. So if these things are reintroduced into your home or business, they will scamper right into this permanent barrier that you placed around to kill them. Now, I should warn you that this method is not fast and it's not cheap. But it is totally effective, and it will work in any building. I have personally done this for an entire hospital with total success. And if you do it correctly, it cannot fail. Okay, I told you that this method is time-consuming, but it does not have to be done all at once. This is something that can be done in stages. For a home, you can do it one room at a time. And for larger accounts, like a hospital or hotel, it can be done one area or floor at a time and still be 100% effective. So, if I have spiked your interest, then let's get started. Of course, the first thing you're going to need to do is make sure that you actually have German cockroaches. Perhaps the only good news about German cockroaches is that they are very easy to identify. They're about a ½ inch long. Most of the time, they are light brown in color, but the color can vary sometimes, and they can even look black. Now, they have wings, and I am told that they are capable of flight, but I have never personally seen one fly. The most identifying feature of German roaches is those two parallel lines that run from behind the head to the base of the wings. If the roaches that you are looking at do not have these lines, then they are not German cockroaches. And you can stop watching this video right now. Now, as with all insects, they have 6 legs. And believe it or not, you can also smell them. Okay, now that you know what you're looking for, you need to, well, go look for them. The most likely place to find German cockroaches is in the kitchen. And if you want to find the roaches, the easiest way to do this is to look for fecal matter, which kind of looks a bit like pepper, and you're going to find it around pipes, inside cabinets, on cabinet hinges, on the sides and backs of appliances, behind pictures, or any place where there is a crack or a crevice where cockroaches can hide. They love small spaces, and you will often see them peering out at you while you're doing this inspection. Since they also like dark places, it's a good idea to use a flashlight. In addition to fecal matter, you may also see dead bodies or body parts lying around where there is activity. Also, you may actually see live cockroaches that scamper away when you get close. If you see live ones during the day, then you may have a serious infestation, because these guys like to hang out at night, and they avoid coming out when it's light out and when there are people around. Next, inspect the bathrooms. Bathrooms are also a very likely place to find cockroaches. Again, check the cabinets, pipes, around the toilet, behind mirrors, and so forth. Finally, you may also have cockroaches in your dining room, living room, bedrooms, so forth. You may want to look behind and under furniture, behind pictures, and electronics such as the TV. Also, look around your computers, video game consoles, speakers, and all that sort of thing. Now, these guys also love heat, so anything with a motor or electronics is a great place for them to hang out. Okay, now that you know that you have German cockroaches, and you have found a lot of the places where they're hanging out, let's start treating them. The first thing you're going to want to do is what I call phase 1 of what's going to be 2 phases. Phase 1 is that kind of quick knockdown that the professionals do all the time. So if you're a pro, then you may want to just skip ahead to phase 2, because phase 1 is pretty much the standard stuff that you are doing already. If you are a do-it-yourselfer, then what you need to do is employ baits, dust, an insect growth regulator, liquid insecticide, and a good cleaning of everything. So let's start with the cleaning. Now, you can hire a cleaning service to do this for you, but it's certainly something that you can do yourself. You want to be sure to remove all sources of food. That includes crumbs, grease on range hoods, stoves, cabinets, and so forth. Do not leave dirty dishes lying around, including in the sink or the dishwasher. Move appliances and clean them inside and out. Be sure to clean under and behind appliances as well. Make your kitchen and other areas in the building just as squeaky clean as you possibly can. Like me, your household should have a strict rule of only eating in the kitchen or the dining room. Look, like all living things, roaches require food and water to survive. So naturally, it helps if you deny them an easy food source. And in the absence of other food, the roaches will be more likely to eat the bait that you're going to use. Also, always be sure to wipe down all sinks prior to going to bed to deny the roaches a water source. After cleaning, the next thing I like to do is apply a dust. Most pros are going to use a dust that is going to have a quick knockdown, and I do that too. But I also follow up with a long-lasting dust later. But we'll talk about that in phase 2. For now, a good choice of a dust, and I always get a little tongue-tied when I say this for some reason, is Defense Deltramethrin Dust. Go ahead and say that fast 3 times. It's available from DoMyOwn.com, Solutions Pest and Lawn, or Amazon. And at the time of this video, when I've made it, you can expect to pay about $15 for a 1-pound bottle. Now, you want to apply the dust with a handheld duster like this. And do not overfill the duster. Filling the duster about halfway is all you need. And puff some dust into all the cracks and crevices. Any cracks and crevices that you can find is a good place to apply the dust. You can apply the dust under sinks, on the bottom of the base cabinet, near the walls, and in all the pipe penetrations. Also apply the dust under and behind appliances and any other place where the dust will not be disturbed by children or pets. The reason you want to dust prior to baiting is because the dust can contaminate the bait. Be careful not to use too much dust. Roaches may avoid dust that is in piles, so you want to use just a light dusting so that they will crawl through it. Next, I use a liquid pesticide on all baseboards. I think a good pesticide to use indoors is tempered FX insecticide. You just mix it in a 1-gallon garden sprayer and give the sprayer just a couple of pumps. You don't want much pressure in the sprayer. That way you will just get a light spray on the baseboards. Do not limit yourself to kitchens and bathrooms though. You need to treat all the baseboards throughout your home or any business or building that you happen to be treating. Again, this product is available from Do My Own, Solutions Pest and Lawn, or Amazon. And at the time of this video is made, you can expect to pay about $55 for a 240 milliliter bottle. Now I suggest mixing it 16 milliliters per gallon of water. But you should always follow label directions, because sometimes label directions can change. And always in pest control, the label is law. So you can buy these single dose packets, but they are only 8 milliliters each. And so the cost of 1 packet is about $10. That means you would need 2 packets for a cost of $20 to make 1 gallon of finished product. That should be enough to do 1 treatment in the average home, but it's a lot more cost effective to buy the 240 milliliter bottle, because you can use it later for other types of pest problems if you like. Now, let's talk about baiting. The best places to put the bait is where you see cockroach activity. Since you did your inspection, you pretty much know now where most of the activity is located. So, what bait should you use? Well, there are a number of baits available, and I think they all work pretty well. I personally kind of like Max Force Impact Cockroach Gel Bait, but like I said, there are others as well, and I think they are all, fine to use. Now, again, you can purchase these products from DoMyOwn.com, Solutions Pest and Lawn, or Amazon. And I suspect you can expect to pay about $35. Again, there are other baits that you can use, and I don't think you can go wrong with any of them for that initial knockdown treatment. Now, baiting is a main line of defense that is used by the pros, but the problem is that the roaches become resistant to it, and you need to change the type of bait that you use periodically, because the roaches can become resistant to it, and any one particular bait may stop working after a while. Now stop and think about that for a minute. If the bait is killing all the roaches, then how can they possibly become resistant to it? Well, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure out that if the roaches are becoming resistant to the bait, then the bait is not killing all of the roaches. In fact, some of them may actually be eating the bait and they are not dying before they lay their egg sacs. So their offspring won't die either. That's why the pros need to keep coming back, so they can keep changing the baits. The theory is if you keep rotating the baits, then the roaches will not become resistant to them. Seriously? I mean, seriously? If the first bait you used was eaten by a roach, and it didn't die before laying an egg sac, then guess what? Baiting is not going to get the job done. Couple that with the fact that not all of the roaches are even going to eat the bait, then you can understand why, what it is I'm saying here. Baits are not 100% effective. I mean, they will help to get that fast knockdown that you want because they will kill a lot of roaches, but they will not eliminate the problem. So you cannot rely on baiting alone to get a 100% extermination. Nevertheless, baiting does need to be part of your initial attack. Now be careful not to overdo it with the bait. Cockroaches don't eat very much. So just use small dots placed about 12 inches apart and never apply the bait in a straight line. Apply the bait behind appliances like microwaves and under range hoods. Apply the bait, again using small dots, inside cabinet hinges. Also place some of the bait where the dishwasher meets the cabinets. And don't forget a couple of dots inside all the drawers as well. Now, roaches love outlets and switches, so be sure to apply some bait there as well. And a favorite place for cockroaches to hang out is under sinks. So place some of that bait on the pipes. And don't forget your electronics either. Put a small dot of bait on a piece of paper, like a sticky note, and place it behind all your electronic devices, like computers, game consoles, TVs, TV boxes, and other devices. After that, you need to use an insect growth regulator like Gentrol Point Source IGR. These are really easy to use. You just break the ampule at the end of the disc and place it where you see the activity in the cabinets, drawers, under the refrigerator, and other areas that are out of reach of children and pets. Finally, I mop all hard surface floors with Nibor-D insecticide because it can be mixed with water and it leaves a residual insecticide behind when it dries. I have also filled a spray bottle with this stuff, and I sprayed it lightly on carpeting prior to going to bed. This way the roaches will have no choice but to cross it when they travel across the floor. Now, you're going to want to use this product every time you mop your floors or clean your carpets until the infestation is completely gone. Now, people always ask me if this product is safe for people and pets. Well, fear not. The toxicity of this product to mammals is so minimal that there will not be any harmful effects to people or pets. Okay, now that you've finished phase 1, it's time for phase 2. Phase 1 was that fast knockdown so that we won't see these cockroaches anymore, but trust me, they are still breeding in your walls and other areas that are out of sight. And that is why we keep coming, they keep coming back. And that is why they have to continuously be treated by the pros. And they keep making those return visits. Now, before we get into what to do in phase 2, we need to talk about how German cockroaches think. Because if you want to eradicate these guys for good, then you need to think like a roach. Now, normally I do not go into too much detail about specific, pest biology or anything like that. But if your goal is elimination of German cockroaches, then you must understand the reasons why phase 2 is going to work. And so, I apologize, but I need to explain some German cockroach facts before we can proceed further. The first thing you need to know about German cockroaches is that they have been around for something like 300 million years. That's right, you heard me correctly. I said millions of years. They were thriving long before humans appeared on Earth, and they were literally sharing the planet with the dinosaurs. Now, as we all know, the dinosaurs went extinct, but the roaches did not, and there are reasons for that. These guys are the ultimate survivors. Don't be fooled into thinking that these things just hang out in your kitchen or your bathrooms either. Oh no. They breed so quickly that they run out of room in your kitchen, and then they move on to other areas of your home or business. Excuse me. Since they are nocturnal and search for food at night, if you see them during the day, it means that they most likely got pushed out of their hiding places by other roaches because of overcrowding. In other words, at the point you see them, it's bad. And they are very likely all over your home or business. So you cannot just treat the places where you see them. Wow, you look a bit frightened. Well, that's understandable. But I'm afraid that it gets even worse. Back in the day when I first started doing pest control, we used to fog these things with a pyrethrin. What we didn't know was that we were really making things worse when we did that. You see, you can't use things like fog sprayers because these guys can literally hold their breath for about 40 minutes with no problem at all. So when they get a whiff of the pesticide, they can just hold their breath and move deeper into the walls, and they can make the infestation even worse. And don't even think about flushing one down the toilet. They can survive that. Seriously. Never, never, ever underestimate these things. Now, here's a fun fact. German cockroaches can literally live for an entire week without their heads. I'm not kidding. They may not be able to eat or drink, but they do not need their heads to breathe. They actually breathe through their bodies. So a female may be able to still lay egg sacs even without her head. Are you kidding me? That's amazing. Of course, unlike people, German cockroaches do not lose their heads often. Okay, just a little joke there to, kind of try to lighten the mood. Apparently a very little joke. Anyway, these guys can live up to a month without food and a week without water. That is generally that is generally not necessary for them, though, because they are cannibalistic. Yeah, that's right. Even after you eliminate all the food sources, they will literally eat each other. So starving them is not a practical solution. Removing all the food sources does help, but that is not going to stop them. Do you see what I'm saying here? You're kind of getting the picture now? This is not an easy pest to get rid of. They are not like treating ants or termites. Those things are easy. German cockroaches are survivors, and they are very hard to eliminate. That's why so many pros have that paradigm that eliminating them entirely simply cannot be done. Okay. I am so sorry about that lengthy discussion about how cockroaches survive, but it's important that you understand what you're dealing with. You know, there was a house on Long Island, New York, where German cockroaches were so bad that they had to literally burn down the house. The pest controllers wouldn't even go in there. The fire department was there for safety reasons, and someone told me that the fire department was actually blowing the roaches back with fire hoses. The roaches were pouring out of the house by the millions. And that's a true story, folks. If you want to know just how bad this can get, then take a look at these photos. If left unchecked, German cockroaches are going to overrun your entire home or business. Okay. Now that I have now that I have rambled on endlessly, I should say, and I have you really concerned about German cockroaches, and I think I've exhausted what I have to say about German cockroach biology, and I think you understand why phase 1 and that knockdown treatment that we were talking about and what the pros are doing will not ever get rid of the problem. Let me explain to you what will. And this is where we're kind of getting into phase 2. For starters, the only way you can make sure that you achieve total extermination is to treat every possible place where cockroaches can hide and where they can multiply. And you must treat these areas with a pesticide that never loses its effectiveness. I know on the face of it that this sounds a bit crazy, but I assure you it can be done. Now, this will not be a fast process. It can take weeks to treat a house, and it can take years to fully treat a hotel or hospital. How long it takes will depend upon how many people are working on the project and the size and type of the building. I did a hospital like this, and they would only fund one person to do the job. So there was one pest controller that worked about 5 years before the entire hospital was fully treated. However, that did end their cockroach problem forever, and as far as I know, they still do not have any cockroaches. And this treatment was done almost 40 years ago. That's right. I have known how to do this for a very long time. But this is the first time I have ever had a platform where I can share the knowledge about how to do it. So the theory is, if you place a permanent pesticide that is not harmful to people or pets, but deadly to cockroaches, and you place it literally in every place a cockroach can hide or reproduce, or in fact, every place that a cockroach can possibly set its foot, then it is impossible for them to exist in that environment. Of course, there are some places where you cannot treat with pesticides, and we're going to talk about those areas later. But the vast majority of areas that can be treated the way I am suggesting is what you need to do. So, in my opinion, that means extensive use of boric acid and borate. I like these products because they are inexpensive, readily available, and very effective. Not to mention that they never lose their effectiveness. I think this stuff has a half-life that's longer than nuclear waste. They are literally good forever. Now, they are slow-acting to be sure, and it does take some time for them to do the job. But that's why we did phase 1. We needed to get that quick control so that the cockroaches would, not be so noticeable. So that will allow us to do phase 2 and completely eliminate them without them being a particularly noticeable problem for you. So we need to give time in phase 1 for the boric acid and the borate to work. So, start by purchasing a duster like this one and a lot of boric acid dust. You also want to have some of that Nibor-D insecticide that you used in phase 1. If you are a pro, then using an electric duster is a good idea. However, if you are a do-it-yourselfer, it's okay to use a handheld manual duster as well. It takes a bit longer, but it will get the job done. Electric type dusters are quite costly, so just go with what you can afford. A good duster will only cost you about 15 bucks. And again, you can get them from domyown.com, Solutions Pest and Lawn, or Amazon. I have 2 of them. One I use for that fast-acting dust, and one I use for boric acid, and I just mark them with a Sharpie so I know which is which. The boric acid dust can be used in all hollow spaces such as wall voids, ceilings, inside hollow doors, in attics, around pipes, in cabinets, under appliances, and around electrical outlets and switches, furniture, etc. Pretty much any place you can insert the duster, either through a crack or crevice or by drilling a small hole, or any place you can put it that is out of sight and away from people and pets, you should use the boric acid dust in conjunction with the Nibor-D. For wall voids, drill a hole at least 1/4 inch wide. You want to drill the hole between the wall studs about 6 inches below the ceiling. If you start to see wood coming out where you're drilling the hole, then you need to drill in a different spot because you're drilling into a stud. An easy way to find the wall studs is to use a stud finder. And they are available from Home Depot, Lowe's, or Amazon. And you can obtain one for about, for under 30 bucks. Just place the scanner on the wall and let it calibrate. Then move it slowly across the wall, and it will indicate where the stud is. Normally, studs are located about 16 inches apart, but that is not always the case. So you need to run the stud finder across the entire surface of the wall and make a small mark with a pencil where each stud is located. Again, you do not want to drill into the studs, so you are going to drill about halfway between the stud locations. Then just puff the dust into the wall. Now, sometimes builders install horizontal nailing space where the drywall is is joined together because they put the seam like halfway up the wall. So you also need to run a stud finder vertically down the wall to make sure that this is not the case. If you find that there are horizontal members like wood 2x4s or 2x6s, whatever, that are halfway down the wall, then you also need to drill a hole between each stud below the horizontal members. I know. Right now you're probably thinking that I am totally crazy and there is no way that you are going to ever drill a bunch of holes in your walls. Well, all I can tell you is that if you don't, then you are most likely going to still have German cockroaches. You're probably not going to get rid of your infestation if you don't. But don't fret about the holes, though. For drywall holes, they can be easily repaired. Very easy to do if you're a homeowner, or if you're a professional pest controller. You can hire a handyman or something to come, behind you after you finish the job, and they can repair them for you. Or you can train your staff how to do it. It's really pretty simple. Just purchase a couple of cheap broad knives, kind of like these here, and some spackling compound, and basically fill in the holes. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just don't use too much spackling compound. After it dries, you can take a damp sponge and lightly wipe off any extra spackling compound prior to painting. The sponge will remove the spackling compound very quickly, so be careful not to overdo it. If you do not have any touch-up paint to go over it, then go into a closet and cut out a 4-inch square piece of painted surface on like an inconspicuous place on the wall, and then you can just kind of like spackle over it where you did the cutout. Just measure out a 4-inch square. It doesn't need to be perfect. You just kind of get it somewhat close. Then just take a box cutter or a drywall knife and cut along the lines that you made. You just want to go deep enough so that you get through the paper and not so deep that you cut all the way through the drywall. Next, just take a putty knife and carefully work it under the paper to remove as much of that 4-inch square as possible. If you don't get it all, that's okay. You just need to, get enough of it so that Home Depot or Lowe's can match the paint. As you can see, I did not get the entire square off, but that's okay. I removed enough to get the job done. Now all you need to do is a quick repair to the damaged area. It's pretty simple. You're going to use the same broad knives and joint compound that you used to patch the holes that you made with the drill. Just apply a thin coat over the damaged area. You want it just thick enough to cover the damage. Apply pressure on the knife so that more pressure is on one edge or one side of the knife than the other, so that you can kind of feather in the joint compound onto the drywall. It takes a little practice, but it's really not that hard once you get the hang of it. Now, let it dry overnight, and then you can smooth it out and feather it in a bit more with a sponge. The big box stores sell sponges just made for this purpose, but the truth is that any sponge will do the job. Now, don't get the sponge too wet. You want it wet, but not dripping. Use a light touch because the sponge will remove the joint compound very quickly and very easily. So you don't want to overdo it. And you should know that the wetter the sponge is, the more quickly it's going to remove the joint compound. Now, let the water dry off for a few minutes and then apply, just a thin coat. This was going to allow you to really feather in the edges very well, a lot more than the first coat. Again, allow it to dry overnight and then lightly sponge it smooth. Like before, you want to feather in the edges as best you can so that you don't notice them when you paint. Now, it doesn't need to be perfect because it's inside a closet where nobody is going to see it anyway. Then just take this painted piece of drywall to Home Depot and ask them to match the paint. Make sure you tell them that this is for touch-up and you're going to be using it throughout the house and it needs to match exactly. Make them redo it if they do not get it perfect the first time, because you don't want the touch-up areas, you're going to have a lot of them, you don't want those touch-up areas looking like a different shade. So make sure that they match it perfectly. Now, I think generally about 1/4 paint should be enough to touch up the entire house, but you may want to buy a gallon to do other touch-ups that you have around if necessary. And of course, if you've painted different rooms, different colors, then you're going to need to do this for each color. Okay, let's talk about how to treat over suspended ceiling. If you are a professional pest controller and you have an electric duster, then you can simply remove a ceiling panel and blow boric acid dust across the entire ceiling. Now, dusting that large of an area with a hand duster is not very practical. So I suggest for you do-it-yourselfers, instead of dusting it with boric acid, mix up some of that Nibor-D in a garden sprayer and spray it lightly across the entire ceiling. Again, just like I've explained before, just 1 or 2 pumps on the sprayer is all you need. You don't want to use a heavy spray across that ceiling. Just a little light spritz is all you need. If you apply it too heavy, then it could drip down and damage the ceiling tiles. Now, you may need to remove several tiles to reach all the areas of the ceiling. Now let's talk about doors. There are 2 ways to treat a hollow door. The first way to treat a hollow door is to drill a 1/4 inch hole right through the top of the door. Then puff in the boric acid. After that, just seal the hole with some caulking, the kind of stuff that you'd use to caulk the exterior of the house or something. Or, you can use some silicone. And that's pretty much it. The other way that you can treat a hollow door is to remove the doorknob. Obviously, drilling through the top of the door is easier, but this method will also get it done. After the doorknob is removed, just drill a 1/4 inch hole into the door where it's not going to be seen. So you're going to drill right through the hole where you remove the doorknob. Apply the dust and caulk the hole the same way as you would if you had went through the top of the door. All you have to do then is just figure out how to put the doorknob back together, and that's pretty much it. Now, puff in some of that dust into all pipe penetrations. Every pipe penetration or crack and crevice that you can find, like under sinks or anything like that. Now, German cockroaches love to hang out in outlets and light switches. So remove the covers from all outlets and light switches and puff dust alongside the box between the drywall and the box. Also, puff some dust on the top of the box between the box and the drywall. And puff some on the inside bottom of the box. And be careful not to get the dust on the outlets or light switches themselves, because boric acid dust can be somewhat corrosive. Then, of course, all you need to do is replace the covers. If you are a pro and you have an electric duster, then it's a good idea to blow dust across the entire attic of the building. If you are a do-it-yourselfer, again, it would take you a long time with a little hand duster to treat the entire attic that way. So again, what I would do, just like with the suspended ceiling, I would mix up some Nibor-D and put it in a garden sprayer and lightly spray down the entire attic with it. Don't try to get it soaking wet. You just want a light spray that will cover all of the flat surfaces. If you overdo it, then you could have it kind of like dripping down onto the ceiling, and that could cause water stains on the ceiling. Now, should that happen and you get water stains on the ceiling, they sell a product called Kills. Just treat the water stains with Kills, just paint it on with a paintbrush, and then you can go over it with a white ceiling paint, which are available from Hose and Home Depot, Ace, and those kinds of places. For furniture, puff in the boric acid anywhere you possibly can. Turn over couches and puff the dust into all voids, even if you need to make like a small hole for the duster through the fabric on the back of the furniture. Because naturally you're not going to want to do any damage to the fabric that's visible to everybody. But when you flip it over, if they, sometimes they have fabric on the bottom that you can make a small hole into to puff it in. Okay, let's talk a little bit about applying Nibor-D. The fact is that boric acid can only take you so far. It is simply impossible to treat everything with boric acid. So we need to also use the Nibor-D. Now, I have found that the easiest way to apply it is to simply pour some of the mixed solution into a spray bottle. Just follow the label directions and mix it at the same dilution rate as you would if you were mopping floors. Let's start with the base cabinets. Just lightly spray the walls and floors of all the cabinets. I also spray all the pipes under the base cabinets as well. And don't forget to spray the underside of the sink. While you're at it, it's a good idea to remove all the drawers and spray under the countertop and treat the bottom and sides of all the drawers. Now, I like to shake the bottle every couple of minutes to kind of ensure that it stays well mixed, even though it's probably not necessary. But I figure it's easy to do, and it just can't hurt. So why not do it? Now, while you have that spray bottle handy, go ahead and spray the sides of all appliances and the sides and fronts of all cabinets as well. Be sure that all food and food handling equipment is removed or covered prior to the application. If you get the product on food preparation surfaces, such as countertops, then simply wash that area with soap and water. This product is very easily removed and really not harmful to people at all anyway. If you get surfaces a little too wet and they're kind of dripping, then you can just wipe the areas with a rag or paper towel that is dampened with some Nibor-D solution. You don't want to remove the pesticide, but rather just kind of smooth it out and leave it wet. Now, don't worry if you get some Nibor-D inside the dishwasher. It will wash away with the first load of dishes, and it will not cause any contamination whatsoever. Now, I know I said not to get any of the Nibor-D on the countertops, and that is correct. But you can spray some on the countertop splash guards and the walls above them. You don't want it on the countertops themselves, but you do want it on the splash guards and the walls because food is not prepared there. But the roaches will definitely be using these areas as a superhighway. Now, if you get some on the countertop, don't worry. Just wash it off with soap and water. Next, go ahead and spray Nibor-D on virtually every surface you can think of where you will not damage electronics or contaminate food or eating surfaces. Some examples are, treating kitchen chairs. Just spray the legs and the bottom of the chairs and smooth out the liquid with a damp rag or paper towel or something. You should also treat the kitchen table legs and also underneath that table as well. You don't want to treat the top of the table because people will be eating there, but you can treat underneath, and believe me, cockroaches can be hanging out under there. In bedrooms, go ahead and treat the dressers inside and out. Remove everything from the drawers and treat all the drawer surfaces. Spray down every single door in the entire house and spray behind all wall hangings such as picture frames and mirrors. If you have bookshelves, this is going to be a great place for roaches to hang out. So remove everything from those shelves and spray all the surfaces of those bookshelves. Now don't forget those ceiling fans either. If you think German cockroaches won't infest those things, then you are mistaken. Now don't spray directly into the fan motor, but you can treat the blades and you can wipe off the motor itself with a rag, sponge, or paper towel that is wet with the Nibor-D. Just don't get it into the fan housing itself. Of course, you should also spray all air vents, and I would spray down all the walls in the entire house as well. In the bathroom, be sure to spray around the toilet and all other surfaces, such as the vanity, doors, and walls. If you have a medicine cabinet, remove everything out of the medicine cabinet and treat the inside of the cabinet as well. For electronic equipment like computers, TVs, gaming consoles, and so forth, so you cannot spray these devices directly, but you can spray a rag or paper towel and then wipe on the Nibor-D in a way that does not allow the liquid to get into the device, kind of like what you did for the ceiling fan. It's okay to wipe those surfaces. You just don't want to spray it into any of those holes or anything where it's going to get into the device and short it out. Are you getting the picture here? If it's a hollow space, then it needs to be treated with boric acid, even if you need to drill a hole. If it's a hard surface, you need to treat it with Nibor-D. The key to effective treatment is to leave no stone unturned. You must treat every place that a roach can set its nasty, germ-ridden, disgusting, gross, ugly, vile foot that does not contaminate food or damage anything. The only exceptions are things like electronic equipment. You know, stuff like TVs, gaming systems, routers, computers, microwaves, and so forth. And of course, motorized items like refrigerators. To treat these things, we are first going to prevent any roaches that are inhabiting that equipment the ability to go anywhere else. Try to think of that appliance or electronic equipment kind of like an island. If you surround that island with pesticide, then when the cockroach leaves the island, it is going to die. And if it returns prior to dying, then it will take a lot of its relatives with it. This holds true for any offspring that may hatch as well. Since the pesticides we are using are permanent, the roaches are now isolated to the island that they are on. That is to say, the refrigerator, the computer, TV, or whatever it happens to be. Now, when I say permanent, these products are only permanent until you wipe them off. If you wash the surface, they're gone because they are very, very easy to clean up. Now, our opening shot is going to be to treat all parts of the island that will not be harmed by our pesticide. That's why we treated all of these sorts of items with the Nibor-D. Do you remember? We filled a spray bottle with Nibor-D and sprayed the sides and backs of all the appliances, like the refrigerator, stove, dishwasher, and the microwave oven. We also treated all the electronic equipment, like computers, TVs, game consoles, and so forth, by spraying the Nibor-D on a rag, paper towel, or sponge, and wiping it on all the surfaces that would not allow the liquid to enter the unit. It is very important not to get any of the liquid inside any of the electronics, or you don't want it contacting any of the motors either, because you don't want to short them out. You should also apply the Nibor-D to all surfaces of TV stands, tables, chairs, and so forth, no matter where they are located. You should also do the same thing with the sides of cabinets that surround those appliances and electronics. You see, we will allow them, the cockroaches, no escape whatsoever. If they try to leave the island, they will die. Now that we have them isolated, it's time to kill the ones that are still inhabiting the island. There are some people who will advise you to take the equipment apart and vacuum it out, but that can void the warranty, and most of us simply are not qualified to be doing that anyway. So, since roaches cannot leave the island, to do things like get food or water without dying, their only options are to either eat each other, which they will do because they are cannibalistic after all, or they will have no choice but to eat something that we give them to snack on. That means going back to our baits. Again, just like in phase 1, we are going to use small dots of bait placed about 12 inches apart. Since some items may be small, it's okay to place the bait closer together than 12 inches if it's necessary. And it's okay if you place the bait on a piece of paper and place it next to the item that you are treating, if applying the bait directly is not an option in that case. Next, we are going to use the Gentrol point source IGR. Just place the discs under appliances or close to electronic equipment. In the case of computers, for example, just place one disc behind the computer itself. So, since the roaches are isolated and must remain on the island, and since they have a life cycle of about 100 days, we need to be a bit patient with them. So what we are going to do is replace the Gentrol IGR every 90 days, and we are going to bait them and change the baits every 90 days for the next year. So every 90 days, you are going to use a different brand of bait. Trust me, they will be gone long before the year is up. But I do not take chances with German cockroaches. Now, just a quick note about carpeting. I think it's a good idea to spray carpets with Nibor-D just before going to bed. But if you have small children or pets, then you may want to vacuum it up again in the morning. If you find that to be too labor intensive, then just spray the carpeting around the walls about 4 inches out from the wall. Also spray under and around all the furniture at least a couple of inches. This way the roaches will still need to contact the Nibor-D if they attempt to cross the floor from one location to another, but they're going to have to contact the Nibor-D. The reason I suggest this is because long exposure to Nibor-D can sometimes be a skin irritant. If your kids routinely play on the carpet, then this could be a problem. They certainly are not going to get, sick or anything like that. But it is possible for them to develop a rash or some type of skin irritation. And it's the same for pets too. Now, this is not as much of a problem for hard surface floors that you have mopped with the Nibor-D. I specifically checked on this issue and was told that mopping with Nibor-D should not pose a problem to small children or pets. When treating for German cockroaches, I recommend that you start with one room and complete that entire room before moving on to another room so that you don't forget what you treated. Also, after treating that room, it's finished forever. You never need to go back and do it again, unless, of course, you remove the product by cleaning. Then you have to retreat. Always start with the kitchen and then the bathrooms. Then finish with the bedrooms and other living spaces. Also, don't forget the garage. Trust me, these guys are out there too. And it's the same for businesses. Always start with the kitchens and bathrooms and then treat the rest of the building one room at a time. Now be creative and get the entire family involved. See who can think of things to treat that others have missed. And after you have finished treating everything you can think of with the boric acid or the Nibor-D, and of course the bait, then go through the entire building and look for things that you may have forgotten to treat. Even the best of us will forget to treat some things from time to time. But the good news is that it's never too late. If you think of something you forgot to treat even a month or two later, just go ahead and treat it when you think of it. When it comes to eliminating German cockroaches, you can have no mercy and offer them no place to hide where they will not encounter the pesticides or the baits. When you think about it, this treatment plan is just common sense. If every single roach has no choice but to touch or eat a poison, then they simply cannot survive in that environment. Now, one final word before I take my leave of you. I know that some folks are going to ask if the Nibor-D is safe to spray all over the place. I mean, you are basically covering the entire building with it. Well, fear not. The answer is a resounding yes. Like I said before, the active ingredient in Nibor-D is basically boron. This is essentially the same stuff that you will find in borax. When I was a kid, they used to advertise it as 20 mule team borax, and you could use it to wash your laundry and clean your house with it. Now, if it was around when I was a kid, then you know that it's been around a very long time. And that product is still around today. And a lot of folks still use it for the very same purposes. I mean, people literally wash their clothes in this stuff. And then they wear them. It makes your whites really come out nice. So, is spraying Nibor-D on everything harmful? No, it isn't. It will kill the roaches really well, but it will not cause harm to humans or pets. I know, I said it could be a problem for carpets, but the operative word there is could. Spraying carpets may not be a problem at all. Just something to keep an eye on, because the boron will come off on your skin a lot easier from carpet than it will from a hard surface. The only other thing with Nibor-D is that you don't want to ingest it. So don't treat food preparation areas with it, and don't treat the kitchen or dining room tabletops with it. You can treat under the tables, and of course treat the legs, just not the top. Again, I apologize for how long this video had to be, but I think after watching it, you can understand that I really had no choice. Okay, that's it for me today, finally. If you found this video to be of any assistance to you in any way, please click that share button and pass it along to a friend. And if you would like to see more of my videos, then please subscribe. And don't forget to click on that little bell next to the subscribe button so that you get notified when I have a new video available. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and please, do not hesitate to ask questions. I am always here to help.